how much will 10 Quant be worth during this bull run? Now, to answer that question, we have to take a look at a hypothetical scenario. And let's say we assume that Quant were to go to the price of $5,000 during this bull run. Now, of course, at that point, 10 Quant would be worth $50,000 because 10 times 5,000 is 50,000. But even besides that point, do I believe that 5,000 is a realistic price target for Quant during this bull run? Hypothetically, I think so, even though that's not financial advice nor a guarantee, because as of right now, it can't be denied that a lot of hype is for meme coins, right? Also, on top of that, a lot of hype is for AI projects. And don't get me wrong, I do love projects that are focused on those areas, but I also do love something like Quant because I think sometimes people don't understand just how special Quant is because, as we all know, as of right now, there's thousands upon thousands of applications. That's no secret, of course, right? But there's going to be more that's going to pop up in the future because as the blockchain space grows, as adoption increases, also as attention increases as well, it's only fair to assume that more and more applications are going to pop up. Now, of course, traditionally speaking, right, usually these developers, they have to be stuck building on only just one blockchain, which is kind of a bad situation if you think about it, because if, let's say, someone chooses like Ethereum to build on, let's say, for instance, if that's the case, okay, Ethereum has a lot of fans, a lot of hype, the ecosystem is amazing, but what is lacking oftentimes? You take a look at Ethereum, sky-high gas fees. It's arguably not even scalable. Oftentimes, people have to rely on these Ethereum layer 2s to kind of combat all this type of nonsense, and it's just a complete nightmare. So, of course, what is a way to kind of like, let's say, not only just be stuck building on only just one blockchain? That's through something called the Overledger OS. Now, the Overledger OS is one of the two things that makes up the Quant network, and the amazing thing about it is that, again, what it does is that it allows developers to not just be stuck building on only one blockchain. Instead, people can build something called multi-chain applications, which is an application that is, as the name goes, built on top of multiple blockchains instead of just one. So that's amazing, right? Because, if let's say you only, again, have to only be stuck building only just one blockchain, that's going to suck so bad because it may have some disadvantages, but then the advantages may not be really that worth it. But again, through the Overledger OS, I can, for instance, let's say, build an application that takes advantage of the Bitcoin blockchain. Let's say I want to take advantage of its security, I can do that, but then at the same time, take advantage of the speed of the Stellar blockchain, which is lightning fast. So that's amazing. The way you take a look at it is that, it's revolutionizing the way we take a look at building applications, and it's amazing. And I think it's only fair to assume that naturally, again, a lot of developers moving forward are going to choose the Overledger OS, and that right there is where I think something like the Quant network really does shine. Now, you take a look at these Overledger OS users, right? It's not like they're stuck or something like that because there's something called the Overledger network. And on there, these, again, users, they can share their data, their apps, their resources, and of course, monetize them. So that's a great touch. So when I take a look at the Quant network, it's not necessarily the most flashy thing out there. It's not the most fancy thing. But again, it gets the job done quite essentially. It's very simple. And I think there's beauty in simplicity. Sometimes people want something to be overly complicated. They want too many bells and whistles, too much knickknacks, but nah, that's not my style. When I take a look at something like this that's quite essentially very simple, I like that. I think there's beauty in simplicity. I even cut my own hair, by the way. That's how I like to keep things simple. But even besides that point, when I take a look at, also Quant, it's very rare, right? That's no secret because you take a look at how the maximum supply of Bitcoin is 21 million. Quant, depending on the site or exchange, it's around 14.6 to around 14.8. So yeah, it's actually very rare. I think sometimes people don't take that into consideration. Now, granted, Bitcoin has way more fans, way more hype, but I think that, if anything, just truly puts into perspective that during a fully fledged bull run, when the FOMO, the buying pressure, the buying volume is very high, there really isn't that much Quant to go around to begin with anyways. Some people like to say that, yeah, when it comes to Bitcoin, there's not so much to go around. But again, when it comes to Quant, there's even much less to go around, which is kind of crazy to think about. Some people like to argue, though, that, hey, a lot of Bitcoin is lost because a lot of the early investors, they kind of forgot about it, then they forgot the password or whatever. But even besides that point, even if, let's say, like 5 million Bitcoin was lost for whatever reason, that's still not even the maximum supply of Quant, which is kind of crazy to think about, really. I mean, because, of course, again, 21 minus 5, that's 16, let's say it's 16 million, that's still a lot more than around 14.8 to around 14.6 million. So when it comes to Quant, I think it's very legendary. At least that's the way to take a look at it. Sometimes people don't understand this, but Man, I do, because I actually take a look at Quant and I realize that it's one of the best projects out there, arguably speaking, in my opinion. And it's not like $5,000 is this crazy pipe dream or something like that. Considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around $60 billion, which isn't so bad. We've seen BNB reach over $100 billion. We've seen Dogecoin reach over $80 billion. So it's not like this is some outlandish thing, by the way. And I get it. It's around an 80x from here. But I still think that Quant is in this unique position where the potential upside feels like a meme coin, but then the potential downside doesn't really feel all that great because it's a very established project. Because think about this, right? Typically, when people think about these like very small cap meme coins or these very small cap projects that are going to do like a 60x, 80x, whatever the case may be, in some cases, their market cap is so low, the community is not really there yet. So then it feels very risky. Am I saying they're going to do bad? No, but then there's a chance they could do bad. You know what I mean? Because they're so up and coming. But then on the flip side, usually if you take a look at these established projects, like for instance, like Ethereum, like a Solana, like Avalanche, like I don't think they can do like an 80x during this bull run. You know what I mean? But then when you take a look at Quant, it's still in this unique position where it still has the capabilities to, let's say, do an 80x hypothetically. But then the potential downside doesn't feel so bad because it's not like this unproven project in a sense. So that's what I really like about Quant. I think it's very amazing in that aspect. And I really like that. So again, the way I view it is that the potential upside feels like a meme coin, but then the downside doesn't feel like that, if that makes sense. Am I saying that Quant can't go down? No, I'm not saying that. But then again, you take a look at how it doesn't have a crazy high market cap, if that makes sense. And just think about what could happen. Like, let's say a year from right now, things could be so different. I get it. Quant hasn't performed the best, this past year. But I think that better days are ahead because when something is this amazing during a fully fledged bull run, as the old saying goes, FOMO pretty much defeats everything. When the FOMO is high, we see something like Shiba, and Dogecoin really just rocket. And they don't have a good use case at all. I get it, they're a meme coin, but still, you know what I mean? We saw something like Litecoin pop off, right? I mean, sometimes when the FOMO is really there, it doesn't really matter if the project isn't the most hyped out there. Sometimes, again, it just goes along with the ride. So when it comes to Quant, I think that better days are ahead. It may not be showing that much action as of right now, but again, I'd give it some time because I waited this long anyways. So if you take a look at it, why would I not just wait a little bit longer, if that makes sense? I just want to wait and see. Now, when it comes to Quant, though, some people like to say that, exposure is bad. Well, here's the thing. Granted, they're not partnering up with like celebrities or like, athletes or whatever the case may be, but they are listed in a bunch of major exchanges, which is key, by the way, because you take a look at a lot of the projects that have done well, historically speaking, typically they've been listed in many major exchanges. So when it comes to Quant, it does have great exposure, maybe not in a sense that it's gaining hype and attention for celebrities and athletes, but in terms of like being listed in many exchanges, it does tick that box pretty much, in my opinion, arguably speaking. So it's in a prime position. Again, it may not showcase it right now, but during a fully fledged bull run, people need easy access, right? If it's something that's super like complicated, you can only access it from like random decentralized exchanges, then yeah, it's pretty difficult. I think that this bull run could be so special. Over 600 million crypto owners. You also take a look at the Ethereum ETF and also the Bitcoin ETF. Even though I don't want to acquire any Bitcoin, I do believe that it's massive for the whole crypto space overall. So just imagine once Bitcoin goes to the price of, let's say, $150,000, which I do believe hypothetically will, with over 600 million crypto owners and this many institutional investors and adoption, could you imagine what happens to Quant and other altcoins then? As the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships, meaning that, let's say, when things are bullish, a lot of things typically go along with the ride as well. So I think that better days are ahead when it comes to Quant. And at the price of $5,000 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think this bull run could be so special. And I think Quant is really arguably one of the best projects out there. I think it's a hidden gem, even though it doesn't have bad exposure by any means. And feel free to become a channel member if you want to. That way you can get a prioritized response from me in the comments. And also you can use these like cool badges and stickers when you do comment. So I think that's awesome. Also on top of that, make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.